Sleeper cell threats from inside the U.S. in the wake of American strikes on Iran. Now ICE is stepping in, arresting 130 Iranian nationals in 7 days. With more on the action the agency is taking, acting ICE Director Todd Lyons is here with us now. Thank you so much for being here, Director. Let's just start off with this threat from Iran. What is the latest in terms of the number of Iranian nationals that have been deported, and what can you tell us about this sleeper cell threat?
Well, thanks, Brian, for having me. Yeah, it's great that you guys give us the opportunity to highlight the great work that the men and women of ICE are doing, especially to combat these sleeper threats. The last administration has left us so vulnerable that we do have so many potential threats that could be in the United States. You had that great graph up there. You show over 130 arrests of Iranian nationals just recently. But ICE isn't just focused on Iranians. We're focused on all high-risk countries that came in through the past administration. You have countries like Syria, Iran, Somalia, Eastern Bloc countries that all want to do harm to the United States. So that's what ICE is focused on. We're out there ensuring that we identify these individuals that either are known gotaways or are known suspected terrorists that came through our southern or northern border under the last administration. We're focused on finding those cells and finding anyone that wants to do harm to the United States before they can do any type of potential terrorist act.
Director, was there anything specific? Can you give us any anecdote to give us an idea of who was deported? Were these sleeper cell threats activated in some way after the U.S. and Israeli attacks on Iran?
Brian, we've been focused on a lot of these high-risk countries even before the incidents of last weekend. But what I can tell you is that we're actively pursuing any type of ongoing criminal and counterintelligence information that we receive. So just to highlight a few of the ones that we did arrest a former military sniper from one of these high-risk countries. We arrested an Iranian with ties to Hezbollah. So these are the type of individuals that were roaming the streets before ICE stepped in. So we're actively working with our other federal agencies, working with the intelligence community to ensure that we go ahead and we locate these unvetted threats that came through our porous border before, and that we want to go ahead and show that ICE is a viable law enforcement tool to help keep our community safe, especially in times when it's heightened threats just like this.
Director Lyons, the House might have helped out your agency this week, passing a bill that would allow the deportation of illegal immigrants convicted of DUIs. Are you encouraged by this type of action in Congress, and how does that help you?
Brian, I'm really encouraged by it because it just shows that people realize that what ICE does is go after these significant criminal threats. And anyone who doesn't think a DUI conviction or a DUI arrest isn't significant, they should talk to those angel moms and dads out there that have lost loved ones due to these senseless crimes. It's very promising to see that now ICE is able to use their entire immigration portfolio to go after these public safety threats. And I applaud any elected official that wants to work with ICE to help us get rid of these public safety threats. Even it will help us identify any of these criminal aliens that some say, DUI is a lower level crime, but that DUI can affect any American citizen throughout the country. Like I said, just talk to any one of those angel moms and dads who have lost someone. So I'm very pleased to see that Congress and elected officials are coming together to help ICE do their law enforcement mission.
On the other hand, Director, nearly 200 House Democrats voted against a resolution to condemn the anti-ICE riots that took over Los Angeles earlier this month. What's your message to those Democrats?
I really wish they would see that ICE is, like I said, a viable law enforcement tool and a great law enforcement partner to help keep communities safe. If you look at the events that led up to the riots in Los Angeles, we always hear from elected officials and other groups that if ICE had a criminal warrant, if ICE had a search warrant or a federal judge signed an arrest warrant, we would work with ICE. And that's what ICE was doing. ICE was out there doing a criminal law enforcement mission, yet we had protests, and the rhetoric against ICE was just outrageous. I just really wish that all elected officials would just come together and see the value that ICE does, that the great work the men and women do every day to keep this nation safe. That's what I hope for. I really hope that elected officials will come together and let us do our law enforcement mission and help keep America safe.
Director Lyons, I need to ask you about this. According to the Track Immigration Database, of the 56,000 people that are in ICE detention as of June 15th, it says that 72% have no criminal record beyond their immigration-related violations. We have heard time and time again about the administration's worst first, going after the worst immigrants out there that have criminal records. But this data shows that a vast majority of those currently in detention have no criminal record. What is your response to that data? Is there a change in policy?
No, Brian, I think you've heard the president say it, and, Secretary Noem has made it clear. She wants us to go out there and do our law enforcement mission. So when you see numbers like that, a lot of these numbers are focused on criminal convictions. But what ICE is also doing is arresting these individuals that have committed crimes that haven't been convicted yet, that have been re-released back into the community. So that's the one thing I wish the American public could focus on, is the fact that while these individuals aren't convicted yet, another law enforcement agency deemed that individual a public safety threat enough to arrest them and put them in a local jurisdiction. What ICE is doing is coming in and we're arresting these individuals so they can't go out and do harm again. But on top of that, Secretary Noem and President Trump realized that ICE is a viable law enforcement tool. And like any law enforcement agency, if we're out there going after the worst of the worst and we encounter individuals that have broken immigration law or that are here illegally, we are going to go ahead and take you into custody. We're not going to turn a blind eye like previous administrations and just let people go that are here illegally. If you're in this country illegally, you have committed a crime. And ICE is going to open up its full portfolio and law enforcement powers to make sure that we keep America safe.
Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons, thank you so much for just